Hello, welcome back to Wisdom in the Night. I'm Betty Swann and I'm your host, and I am bringing you people that I think have real wisdom. They have lived the same kind of life you've lived, maybe different, maybe the same, but if you watch this show long enough, you are going to see and hear from people telling you what they've learned by what they've gone through. You may be sitting there on the sofa, wrapped up in a blanket, just relaxing, maybe getting ready to go to work. It doesn't matter. Just sit back and enjoy what you're going to hear. The guest tonight is Lisa Lucas. She is beautiful and she's sweet. And it's pretty hard to see someone who's beautiful and sweet, but this gal is. So Lisa, thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for that intro.
You like that?
Yeah, I did.
Well, you look like a beauty queen. Have you ever been a beauty queen?
I have not officially, but I, in my mind, would like to have been one. So there you go.
What have, but you kind of like you've been a shoe model, right?
I have, yes. I did shoe modeling through college, and that, I guess, covers the whole beauty, category.
In a nutshell, doesn't it? Right. It's kind of like you're up in front of people, right?
Yes.
Modeling.
Yep, and it's the whole hair and makeup, the whole, literally head to toe look. So yeah, there's
you had to
involved.
do it. Well, I ran for Miss Rattlesnake Queen.
And
I didn't win.
all right, maybe that's a good thing.
No, I was so disappointed. I just knew I would win.
We need a do-over with that one. We need a do-over.
Yeah, in Texas, this town I'm from, Sweetwater, Texas,
love it.
they have the world's largest rattlesnake roundup.
Really?
Yeah, and I was in the very first one out hunting for rattlesnakes, if you can imagine.
I cannot, but I love it.
Yeah. So you can even run for Rattlesnake Queen and survive.
All right. Maybe I should do that then.
So tell me about your life. Did you grow up in New York?
No, I didn't. I'm actually from Maryland. It's a town called Olney, which is a D.C. suburb. And I'm the youngest of 6 girls, no boys.
Oh, my.
Yes, so it was a whole house full of shoes and all things beauty.
And makeup and in the bathroom and arguing over who's in the bathroom, get out, you've been there long enough.
Oh, yeah, you know how it goes, Betty. Yeah, exactly. So, yes, it was really great, really fun growing up with all my sisters. They're still my best friends, so.
That is so unusual. Are you close with every one of them, all 5 of them?
Yep, I really am. And it's interesting because I'll have seasons in my life where I feel like God is giving me time, like very honed in time with one of them for a period, and then another one for a period. So I've had a good chance to get close if I haven't, had that opportunity with the age gaps and everything. So.
Well, are you close with your dad?
I am close with my dad. I adore my dad. Yep.
Yeah. Well, kind of tell me about your parents and how their life went and how that affected your life.
Okay, so as I said, a house full of girls growing up, and my dad had a thriving business. There's definitely an entrepreneurial gifting that comes through my family. My dad definitely owns that. He is an amazing business owner and leader. So he had his own company in the 80s and 90s, and at the turn of a dime, he lost his company, and during that time, my parents' marriage started to fall apart.
Oh,
so
wow.
That was probably when I was young then, but then heading towards my preteen and teenage years, that's when I really started to experience a lot of heartbreak, a lot of disappointments with the divorce and us losing our house and all assets that we had as a family.
Oh, my.
Yeah, and also watching my dad struggle with his health, almost losing his life twice. It was traumatic. It was a lot.
And hard on your mom.
Absolutely. And
did she keep the girls? Did you all stay with your mom?
Well, at that time, we were all kind of separated in 2 different households, and some of my sisters had actually already moved out because they're of the age, they're old enough, and but there was 3 of us that were still at home when this all happened. So we were, we were with both my parents during their separation. Of course, they're still in the same household. I really got to see in that adverse time how amazing my parents really, really are. My mom, She was coming from no college education background and had really been a mother her whole life, a stay-at-home mom. And she dug deep, found her skill set, and applied that to finding a job that would be the best payout for our family. So she worked 2 jobs to come alongside my dad and help support the family in that hard time. So,
what would you say to a mother that's gone through a divorce and is the sole support, or maybe gets some help from the ex, but it's very, very hard and doesn't feel like she has the training? What would you say to a woman like that, since you've seen it from the kids' point of view?
Yes, so I would say you can do it. That would be my biggest encouragement to you, to not give up. You can do it. I've seen it firsthand. Now education is so accessible these days, and you can go online and take a course and get, certified for almost anything. And then that wasn't really an option, especially with low finances. So if my mother could do it and work 2 jobs and still be an active mother, then I encourage any single mom who's feeling discouraged that you can do it.
So was your family what people would say call religious? Did they go to church?
Yeah, we were raised Catholic, so my dad really did make an effort to bring us up in the Catholic Church, which I will say and credit my dad for, being the one who initially taught me about the Lord and taught me about God. And so I had that faith understanding from a young child, so I always believed in God. But I will say I never knew Jesus. I never knew or understood who he was and who he was in my life. So naturally...
How'd you get that?
I think it was a combination of the gift of faith and just seeing the example of my dad. And I don't know how the faith got there, Betty. I just always knew there was God.
But I'm talking about Jesus. How did you get where Jesus became real or personal?
Yes.
Because that's so important.
Oh, yeah. So as teenagers do, they go on with no foundation of the faith. They go on and they sow their wild oats. And that I did as a teenager. And having seen a lot of craziness in my life regarding, all the disappointments growing up, I still was a good academic student, but I had fun in the world, so to speak. So I started working at a hair salon when I was 16, and the woman who owned the salon was a born-again Christian, and she was a lot like me on the outside, but when I heard her talk about how the Lord has transformed her life and her testimony and just how she had this zeal for God, I fell in love with him. And it's just like a relationship. The more you get to know somebody, the more you fall in love with them, right? So that's how it played out for me and Jesus.
But it started when you were 16.
Yes.
And how old are you now?
31.
And so have you seen it grow?
Oh, yeah.
That's about 15 years.
Yeah, so I didn't really start making a commitment and walking with the Lord till I was about 18, 19. So I was just a witness to Jesus. I did start turning from sin and turning from old habits and patterns when I was 16 and as I came to really know God. But I didn't really make the commitment to fully live my life for the Lord till I was about 18, 19. And it was at that time that I got an acceptance letter in the mail from FIT. And Betty, I honestly don't remember even filling out the application. I don't.
Really?
Really. So.
Really?
Yes, I can honestly say that. So I just knew that after I gave my yes to God, again, around 18, 19, this is when going to New York and going to FIT, starting my career path in college, was the start of God's plans for my life.
Would you recommend FIT?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They have a 90% job placement rate. That may have changed since my graduation day, but yes, it's a very great school.
And so in doing that, what was God's destiny? And by asking you what is God's destiny for your life, obviously shoes have something to do with it, right?
Yeah, I
That's
would
how
say
special, and you can be to God and how special His call on your life can be.
Absolutely.
Shoes, not dresses, not hats, not coats, not boots,
yeah,
shoes.
It's very interesting because growing up, my parents, even when I was way young to be buying myself shoes, but somehow I always had a lot. And my parents call me Imelda Marcos, who is the princess of the Philippines.
How many pairs of shoes did she have? Do you remember?
3,000, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
Okay.
they call me Imelda, which is funny and almost prophetic because here I am in a career in shoe design. So it's very funny. But I feel like God's destiny for my life, after I gave my life to the Lord, I feel like things started to shift. And
really?
what the enemy intended for evil, God can turn for good. So this is what I started to see. And I feel like God wants to restore back what the locust has eaten.
In your life?
In my life.
In what way? What are you talking about?
Just like I mentioned earlier, the disappointments, the heartbreaks, and I feel like that generational blessing of entrepreneurship and just creativity and gifting in business and business leadership that I do believe is on my family. I feel like that has been snatched and taken away in some areas
because of what happened with your dad and everything.
And I think it flows through him. And so I feel like this is God redeeming that promise to our family. And it's really interesting. I'm seeing this all really start to play out really in the last 2 weeks, how I feel like God's plans and my family, like something very much in the natural and the supernatural, this is how God's going to reconcile things with our family. And it's almost like I can't put it to words quite yet, but it has to do with business and entrepreneurship.
So something's happening.
Yes.
Well, when you were back at FIT, I know that I met Amanda Gertis through you.
Yes.
Was she at FIT too at the same time?
No, she wasn't. She and I are the same age, and we were climbing the career path ladder around the same time, but we never knew each other until she came to the company and on the brand that I work on.
So kind of explain what that all is, and challenges you've encountered.
So regarding work or?
Just because you've already discussed the challenge of your family situation in your life and how you've pulled out of that.
Yep.
And your mom pulled out of it,
Yep.
your dad's pulled out of it. But how did all that work with Amanda? You began designing shoes?
Yeah, so Amanda came on. I was in a real deserty trial period where I was working basically 2 jobs and I'm one person. So I needed a support. I needed a designer to come in and fulfill that role on the brand. And I had kind of just really let go of the right person, the perfect person, and I was just open to whoever God wanted to bring in. And here he brought Amanda.
So were you praying, God bring somebody to work with me?
Yeah, and it's funny because I wasn't even, like, to be very honest, super sincere about it. It was a very flippant prayer, just like, okay, God, whoever you want to bring, you know? And so it wasn't one of those cry out on my knees necessarily kind of prayers, but God hears it all. So she starts working with me, and I just felt very free and open to share the Lord with her. And it was just set up by God, because that's exactly what she needed at that time in her life. So through our relationship and through me sharing my testimony, she came to know the Lord in a really true and intimate way as well. So
I remember that's when I met her, about the time.
Yep.
Because her life had been in a shambles.
Yes.
And
Yep.
it all has turned around.
Oh my goodness, that girl is a true redemption story for God. It's amazing. She's an incredible woman, and she always was. But you know, this is where I say healing and everything is so important, and I'm such a supporter of that. That's where, just like all of us, that happened to be her turn. It was her timing, and look at her now.
And there's probably people watching this show that are going, when is my time? And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But like, as you went through all of this with these challenges, did you see that you and Amanda worked really well together, and your shoe designs got better or bigger, or the training got better, or your mentor got better, anything like that?
I will say, and this is what I've learned through my career, even apart from Amanda, that God will use your workplace as the site to grow you, to train you in the things of the Spirit, in the things He's trying to to advance you in.
Okay, give an
spiritually.
example of that.
Well, one example, again, apart from Amanda, was I was working on a brand. This was several years ago, and it was pretty entry. And I worked with some people that were very difficult. It was not only exhausting working late hours, it was also there was just mixed signals and confusion and unfair treatment. And I don't mind working late or working hard, but when you're working in an unhealthy work environment in terms of how you're being treated, then that's where I have a problem sewing in those long hours. So I wanted to throw in the towel, but I knew in my spirit, don't give up. So I didn't. So I was just there kind of suffering. And then I finally decided to ask God, okay, Lord, what is it that you want to show me in this? What is it, God, so that I can walk out in this and then our time can be done here? And what the Lord showed me was to be grateful. And so I had to be grateful in the adversity. I had to find what I was grateful for and thank God for it.
So what were you grateful for? I mean, you've already told us all the stuff that was going on.
I was grateful that I had a job that I knew how to do. I was grateful that I had a nice white desk to sit at. I was grateful that I had a car to get me to work every morning, even though that car was on its last leg, but it still ran. So anything, I had to just kind of shift my sight on all good things come from God. And I had to start seeing things as a blessing and not such a weight in my life. And it was 13 days later, Betty, that I got a promotion and I was moved out of that situation.
I think that that is a key piece of wisdom for people.
Yeah.
Because praise God when it's the hardest. Thank Him
Yes.
when it's the hardest.
Yeah.
Because it's raw faith.
Yep.
Nothing's going right.
Yeah.
You can't see God. It's like, if you love me, why aren't you doing something?
Yeah.
Why am I in this? I've been trying to get out. I've been trying to do something. I've been crying out to you. Nothing is happening.
Yeah.
And when you get in that position, I've learned, speak what you want to happen as if it's already happened.
Yeah.
In other words, I thank you, God, that you're solving this. I thank you that you're training me. I think you're using it to prepare me.
Yeah.
All things like that. And then I think there's this place, it's kind of like, I've heard it called the prayer of relinquishment. It's like, all right, God, I'm here and nothing's changing. Therefore, I accept it. And whatever you're trying to do, I trust you.
Yeah.
Would you say you got there?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep. And it was just a truly incredible time. I learned so much. He gave me my prayer language in that time, which we don't know our needs, but God does. So if you pray for God to give you what you need, the equipment in those hard times, He'll give it to you, and it could catch you by surprise. But I had to He gave me that insight, that wisdom from the Holy Spirit, how to pray in those situations. And it was warfare. It equipped me to be able to endure those situations. And I feel like to encourage people, if they are going through that hard time, that God disciplines the ones He loves, and God takes the time to teach the ones that He loves. So as a child of God, when you're a child, He'll invest in you, and He'll take that time to show you and allow you to walk through a hard season if that's His will. And that could be the best thing that you could go through in your life. And I see now how it's been so pivotal in my career. So,
in what way, though? Like where you are now, now that you're past it, and you're in a good place, I assume. You're right in a good place now.
Yes, very much.
All right. What do you have in you now that bad time put in you?
I know how to be a manager that goes out of her way to respect and to celebrate the people that I work with. And I will admit I'm pretty intense on the job, but I am conscious of making sure that I show appreciation for the people that work for me or work with me. And I also think it just toughened me up, and it allowed me to also just trust God, to trust God in the desert places. And without a doubt, Betty, it's like my faith has been reinforced, because when things like you go through something like that and you see that without a doubt it was God that got you through it, then it allows you to trust God more, and then you can step out in more faith.
And do even bigger things.
Yeah. So,
Well, do you realize that a lot of people watching this show have never really known the Lord or trusted the Lord, like what you're talking about,
Yeah.
and they've gone through the same things.
mm,
And now you're saying that it's possible for a normal woman, a young woman who's an entrepreneur, has big dreams, big goals, hard worker,
yeah.
goes through what everybody goes through. It was just as hard for you as it was for them,
Yeah.
but there was a key in your life, and that key was God, His wisdom, His help,
Yep.
His concern. Isn't that what
Yep.
you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I always say this to people, that you can suffer or you can suffer with hope. So that was my option. I was like, you know what? I'm going to walk this out one way or the other. This is my lot right now, and I'm going to just keep my eyes on you, God. And I did. I worked faithfully and excellently in that company, and without me knowing, the right people were watching, and that's when I got advanced. But that was really God orchestrating all of that. But in the natural, it was the CEO, the president, and the COO that were watching me from behind closed doors.
And you had no idea they were?
No idea. None.
So see, because you didn't know it, if you had not done what you yourself knew was the right thing for you to do as a person, not based on who's seeing it, who's watching it, what's going to happen because of it, but just due to strong character, right?
Yeah.
Strong character, you did what was right.
Yeah.
And then they were watching.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's, I think, such a testimony in the workplace, because God does call us to work to excellence according to His standard of the Bible. So when you do that, it transcends natural principles.
Like, okay, give an example. Like, I know God loves excellence.
Yeah.
Because look at the world. Look at the bugs.
Yeah.
Sometimes I look at a beetle and all of the multicolors in a beetle, and I think, who in the world would go to that much trouble to make a beetle have all those colors?
Yeah.
So you're talking
Details.
about a God of excellence,
Oh, yeah.
and a God of excellence in your life, right? Okay, kind of explain that.
So when I talk about excellence and how that applies to the workplace, for example, in that time, I had my normal responsibilities that I had to get done during the workday, but I was also given this side project to sketch all of these new ideas for a spring collection. And this was actually appointed, this project, by Vince. And
Now, who is Vince?
Vince Camuto. And that is the company that I work for, Camuto Group. So he is a shoe mogul, a legend in the industry, so well respected. And I'm sad to say that he has passed away. It's been a little over a year now, but his memory and legend lives on.
And I bet his effect.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He's an amazing, gifted man in this industry. So
What's the greatest thing he taught you? What's the greatest piece of wisdom he gave you?
What I love about Vince is that he had this ability and talent to see young talent. So he didn't care how old you were, where you came from, who you were. If you had a great idea and vision, he had the ability to see the potential in that. And I feel like that's so much like God. You know, He loves without reproach. He loves above judgment. And God sees the potential in us when we don't see it in ourselves. So for that reason, Vince took a risk on me. I was a young girl, but I had in his eyes, a couple good ideas. And so he advanced me in his company and took a risk on me.
Even though you were really young.
I was very young, yeah.
All right. So how wonderful it would be for people who are watching that are older if they could learn to recognize that in young people and not feel threatened by it, not feel like they're too old.
Oh, yeah.
But they could watch for it and expand it in somebody's life, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Lisa, this has been great.
Yeah.
I feel like there are people watching this show. Let me just talk to you. I think that you are probably very creative. And your creativity, you feel like, is being stifled. You feel like I can't seem to get there. And yet tonight, you've heard Lisa talk about it. And if she can do it, you can do it. The thing I like about hearing Lisa's story is that she knew from her family dynamics that you could go through something very difficult, but your character of having good work ethic, entrepreneurial skills. You remember she said she started working at 16? So a lot of you have done that. Some of you have had to do that. I had to do it. And it's not as bad as you think. Did you get what she said about it can seem bad, but really it's preparation for where you're going next? And part of it is so that when you're in a higher position, you'll remember what it felt like when you were in that lower position and people didn't appreciate you, or they worked you way too much and weren't interested in you. So I want to give you an idea. I want you to think about this idea. What if you really believed there was a God who loved you, who cared about you and wanted to help you? He wanted to be your mentor. What if that was really true? Would you consider opening up your heart and your creative mind and say something like, God, I know that I have this talent, but I'm going to give my talent to you, and you can use me any way you want to, but I give it to you as my gift back to you. Why don't you think about doing that? Because I have a promise. If you do it, I can promise you eventually amazing things will happen to you that there's no way it could happen. You know there's no way it could have happened. My life is like that. I have things going on. People say to me, Betty, how did that happen? And I say, God, that's all I know. Even this TV show. So you come back and you watch these shows over and over and you get wisdom for your life. Maybe you've never had a mentor, but I can promise you if you watch these shows enough, you will feel like you've had a mentor. So bye. See you next time. Tell your friends to watch.